vitamin D and also with the larger bundles, we give you an option if you choose, because this is really a vitamin D today special, but if you choose the larger bundles, we have calcium, magnesium intensive care is available as well. With that large bundle, we're just doing, I think it's less than 7 cents a capsule. And mind you, we have not compromised our capsules or ingredients. That's just the incredible value with the Today Special. So with vitamin D being, without question, of the vitamins we take, and vitamin, I'm using the word technically, say vitamin A, D, E, B1, B2, B3, B5, B6, B12, folate, biotin, all the things that we consider vitamins. Without question, now vitamin D is recognized as the most important to ensure that we have adequate levels. And unfortunately, there's no good dietary source of vitamin D, so it really becomes about supplementation. I'll read you the research and science that says that. So it's not as though I'm trying to tell you have to get my vitamin D, but if you're not getting mine, you really need to look at getting vitamin D, because otherwise, if you're not supplementing it, you're not going to have adequate levels. And that's a really important thing nowadays, to make sure that you move through your life and move through the world with adequate levels of vitamin D. It's a simple test that you should have done at your doctor's office. Just as we know our cholesterol level, or our blood sugar level, or our blood pressure level, we must know our vitamin D level. We must know that. And typically, someone should take at least 1,000 IU daily, preferably between 2,000 to 4,000 IU daily. I take 4,000 to 5,000 IU daily, and that keeps me, the number I seek is about 70. So typically your doctor is going to recommend that you be above 50. I try to be between 60 and 80. That's what I look at as the ideal levels of vitamin D that offers a lifetime, not just of protection, but vitamin D is absolutely essential for the functioning of not just the absorption of calcium in our body and the strength of our skeleton, but also our brain. We have some great charts talking about brain function, especially as we get older, and muscle contraction, whether you're an athlete and you're young, or whether you're older and concerned about falling. Vitamin D levels have been shown to present a dramatically reduced risk of falling as we get older, because you can't contract your muscles effectively without it. So the list of benefits is longer than I'd have time to talk about if all I did was talk about it all day today. And what's amazing about vitamin D, how rare is it in life that something that you speak about with such superlatives in terms of it being the most powerful in terms of so many different attributes. How often is that superlative item the least expensive? And that's what you get with vitamin D, that it is unbelievably affordable. And the most important thing to take away today, make sure you know your vitamin D levels. It's something I test every year at my doctor's office. It's so important. I've said that for decades, and the letters and emails and response I've gotten from those who found out how poor their vitamin D levels, it underscores how important that is in America, in our society. So you need to know your vitamin D levels, and you don't have to get my product. It's as good a vitamin D product as you'll find anywhere in the world. It works. It's going to increase your blood levels to the area you want to find them in. And what's amazing about vitamin D, it's just so inexpensive. Whether you get mine or anyone else's, it's going to be affordable. When you get mine, you could be confident in the quality.
Absolutely. And speaking of how affordable it is, so 2 things you need to do. Choose your potency and then choose your capsule size, whatever works out best for you. So on the vitamin D, now remember, 1250 or the 2500, the interesting thing is Andrew is doubling that IU, but he's not doubling the price. So when we talk about affordability, it's unquestionably the finest value he's ever done. You and I, we wait for this once a year and once a year only. So here are your choices. Remember, you can choose the vitamin D singularly, in which case, now remember, 1250 or 2500. I will tell you, overwhelmingly, most of us are doing the 2500. Of course, you know what works best with your lifestyle and what your doctor recommended or your budget. But regardless, 150 cap, 300 cap, 600 cap, or 1,200 capsules. And remember, that's a size that Andrew doesn't even normally do. Normally, here's our price. At $200, you are saving literally more than you are spending. So it's over $110 savings for today and today only. That's ridiculous.
And mind you, if you want the 1,250 IU, if that fits into the number you want to achieve for your daily vitamin D intake, then you get the 1,250. But you don't pay a penny more to get the 2,500 IU. So our original pricing was based on 1,000 IU. So we're not even showing a savings based upon you're getting 2.5 times more per capsule. So, and for me, when you take one of my multivitamins, I have always given I've always known how important vitamin D was. So since I started my company back in 1979, my multivitamins always had at least 1,000 IU of vitamin D in them. At the time, I got criticized for that. Typical multivitamins had 200 and 400 IU. I always had 1,000. Now all my multivitamins have at least 1,500 IU in them. So when you combine that with 2,500, you get to 4,000, which for most people who are at their normal weight, that is a very good number to achieve. What I usually see is 4,000 or 5,000 or so is going to get you to your ideal blood level. The reason why I say your ideal weight, one of the reasons why there's literally an epidemic of deficiency and insufficiency of vitamin D in this country is because our epidemic that we already know about, our epidemic of overweight and obesity. Because vitamin D is fat soluble, if we have extra body fat on our bodies, the vitamin D basically becomes imprisoned. It becomes trapped, sequestered in that body fat. So it's not available to benefit us. So our blood levels and tissue levels are sort of unfortunately lower as a result of our excess body fat in this country. So that's one of the many factors that has conspired in our vitamin D levels going down dramatically in this country. Also, the fact that we use sunscreens, also the fact we don't spend much time outside. And literally, you have to spend a substantial amount of time outside in strong sunlight with most of your body not covered in order for UV, ultraviolet light from the sun, to create a significant difference in your vitamin D levels on a consistent basis, which unfortunately we don't achieve that in this country, and the only way to consistently achieve a vitamin D level that's desirable is going to be by supplementing. And again, I'll show you quotes from research and clinical sources that speak to that. So it's not the fact that I'm offering you vitamin D that this is so important. It's the fact that the science has underscored how important it is. And you really need to know your vitamin D levels. You don't want to continue moving through the world, moving through your lifetime with suboptimal, less than ideal levels of vitamin D. It's so easy and affordable and inexpensive to correct. And the benefits of correcting it are dramatic, substantial.
They are indeed. So overwhelmingly, you can see over 15,000 already spoken for. And I will tell you, predominantly, most of us are doing that 2,500 because remember, Andrew is not doubling the price, even though you're getting double the potency. But of course, it's whatever, suits your lifestyle or your demands. But of those 15,000 being spoken for, most of us are getting these bundles. Now, here's what gets really exciting. Now, on the bundles, remember, still lowest price in history. You can choose the vitamin D. That's the star of the day in all of your sizes, 150, 300, 600, or 1,200 in the 1,250 or the 2,500. But check this out. If you do the bundle, and here's what is so shocking, okay? 600 count of the vitamin D3, you get 500 of the calcium magnesium. And by the way, best calcium magnesium in the world. It's such a pleasure to take. You look forward to it. It doesn't upset your stomach. They're not rock hard tablets. They're all made in America, made with the energy of the sun. But that basically is free. So here's what's so interesting. If you bought the 600 count of the vitamin D normally here at HSN, that's basically $110. It's less money to get the combination, really, the vitamins, the calcium, magnesium for free if you do the bundle. So that's number one. Number two, and here's what most of us are doing because it makes so much sense, the 1,200 count of the vitamin D, again, either in the 1,250 or the 2,500 IU, look at what you are getting basically free. Okay. 1,000 count on the calcium magnesium. World's finest vitamin D, world's finest calcium. So check this out. Normally that's a $340 value, but once more, okay, the 1,200 count of the vitamin D, just vitamin D, normally here at HSN, and Andrew, you said that was actually originally based on the 1,000 IU?
Yes.
So bear in mind, the savings are actually even larger than what's represented on the, this graphic and chart. But, just for sake of argument, normally $200, it's less money to get the bundle. And really with FlexPay and free shipping, and by the way, 600 count and above, you're all getting Muriel and Andrew's cookbook. Honestly, I love this.
The holiday cookbook.
The holiday cookbook.
So everybody's ready for the holidays.
It's true.
Because no matter how important a supplement is, no matter how long the list of benefits of that supplement, the most important thing we do is eat well.
Yes.
So we really need to focus on what we put in our body. Unfortunately, when it comes to food and vitamin D, there is no real rich food when it comes to vitamin D. So when it comes to vitamin D, you're really stuck supplementing. You can, say, spend lots of time in the sun. Most of us, the climate in our area wouldn't allow us to do that. And just spending a little time in the sun, and most of us 5 or 10 minutes walking somewhere, it's not sufficient. And especially we just barely get sun on our face, and most of us now wear, say, makeup or sunscreen that's going to be blocking those UV rays, and that eliminates virtually any benefit whatsoever from sun exposure. So, and then sun exposure is also associated, unfortunately, with damage to our skin. And if you look at the American Dermatological Association, they're going to recommend that the sun exposure is not the best source of vitamin D, unprotected sun exposure. And of course, when you use sunscreen, you don't get the benefits of vitamin D. So unfortunately, as you look at the science, we're left with an option to supplement. And if you want to have adequate vitamin D levels in this country, and the absence or the deficiency or insufficiency of vitamin D in our society, in Western societies in general, are referred to as a pandemic. That's sort of like a worldwide epidemic. And it's something that has crept up on us over the last several decades as a result of the way we live, as a result of our ever-increasing weight, as a result of our not being in the sun. And that dramatic decrease in vitamin D has significant consequences. I was just going to read some reviews here because I think the reviews speak volumes about how unique an experience this product can be, how simple it is. And of course, I always recommend that we start with a daily multivitamin. But if you're only going to supplement one single vitamin, for years, I always talked about CoQ10 because it delivers the B complex and vitamin C with it. But frankly, with all the research and all the science on vitamin D, and as affordable as vitamin D is, literally you're talking the large size here. And the large size just on its own, I think it's about 7 cents a capsule. And bundled with the calcium, magnesium intensive care, it's less than 7 cents a capsule. It ends up being about 6 cents a capsule. So,
and by the way, as Andrew reads these reviews, now bear in mind, and people, you don't normally rave about a product, right? Well, over 900 reviews, 815 of them are perfect. You don't get that with restaurants, movies. I mean, literally over 94% are perfect.
I couldn't imagine. Some people just don't give perfect scores, but I couldn't imagine this product getting other than a perfect score.
Yes.
It delivers the vitamin D you want, in the form you want, in a fashion that's going to be incredibly easy to swallow, won't upset your stomach, because it comes in a tiny little capsule.
Did you make those smaller?
We did. We reduced the size of the capsule even more. So it was tiny to start with. Now it's truly tiny.
Wow.
It's soft, so it gives way, so your throat doesn't have to give way. And then when you look there, it's an ultrafine powder, so you know it's not going to upset your stomach, rather than those large rock-hard tablets, which oftentimes vitamin D is compact in volume. You don't need to provide a huge dosage to deliver the vitamin D you want. So if that vitamin D source you're taking is a large dosage, you know there's a lot of additives in there, and there's no reason why it should be difficult to swallow and upsetting to your stomach. The product should be absolutely mild. It should be totally neutral, which is what this product is. You get all the benefits you want, and there's absolutely no problems consuming it at all. But we'll read a few reviews, which I think speak to a lot of those issues. This is from Kitty in Colorado. Excellent product. I have a very sensitive stomach, and this product, as well as other Andrew Lessman products, does not bother my stomach. This means that I will be getting my vitamin D3, which is very important, especially at my age, which in our society at any age. Thank you, Andrew, for your products. From Kitty in Colorado. Whether you're a child and you're building your skeleton, whether you're in your 20s or 30s, it's just critically, critically important. Love it. I'm constantly amazed how much I love one product after another of Andrew's. This is another example of the super high quality you get from Andrew. I can take it with all my other supplements, and again, it does what it's supposed to without any stomach upset. You truly get what you pay for. Great product. I found out that I had a vitamin D deficiency. This product solved the problem for me. Thanks, Andrew, from Jackie, New Jersey. We have so many reviews that talk about the fact that they've tried other vitamin D. It didn't correct their deficiency until they tried ours. My doctor was so happy when she found out I was taking vitamin D3. She was also aware of Andrew Lessman's products and approved my choice. I've been taking various vitamins from Andrew for the last 3 years, and the doctor is always surprised. My tests are always fantastic. Great and easy to take. I got the giant bottle of vitamin D3 because my doctor said I have a deficiency. Good value for a great product that I need, from Stacy in Alabama. And by the way, If you're going to get your vitamin D level
Right.
tested and you're not supplementing vitamin D, you're going to find out that you're
Right.
insufficient or deficient.
Absolutely.
It's sort of an unfortunate fact of life in our society nowadays.
And that big bottle is what, like 2 years worth of product?
No, no, no. The big bottle, if you're taking 2,500
Right.
IU a day, so if you're getting vitamin D in your
Right.
multivitamin, like mine, say you're getting 1,500, and then you take 2,500 a day, that gets you to 4,000 IU,
Okay.
which for most people will be about what's required if they're at their ideal weight to be where they need to be. If they're a little overweight, they'll probably have to take 5, 6, or 7,000 IU daily. But that's something, get your vitamin D tested at your doctor's office. But if you do the math, 1,200 capsules divided by 365. So 365 times 3 roughly gets you to 1,100. So it's more than 3 years at one capsule daily. And you don't have to worry about it losing potency. So just to underscore the value here, that large bottle is literally pennies a day. And when I'm saying pennies a day, it's not like 20 pennies or 30 pennies. It's less than 10 pennies. It's a little more than it's a little more than a nickel a day of vitamin D. And the same thing when you add the 1,000 capsule supply in that large bundle, when you add the calcium magnesium intensive care, that's only $60 more for 1,000
wow.
capsules of calcium magnesium intensive care. One capsule daily, that again would be somewhere close to 3 years of the calcium magnesium intensive care. Again, we're talking about less than 6 cents a capsule.
That's unreal.
Empty capsules, you could probably pay more for empty capsules at a health food store than you're paying for capsules filled with the best quality products and ingredients you could imagine. So
wow.
pretty special.
When that review was talking about the big bottle, I mean, obviously, that's why, hands down, I mean, obviously, the more you know, the more you read, the more you should be compelled to take this. But we hope that you choose your size of choice. Good news is, of course, we've got all the various sizes now. I know Andrew's going to make some adjustments as the day progresses, because I will tell you, with now over 16,000 gone, that is far more than they anticipated for this time of the day. So if you saw that last reviewer who was talking about the big bottle, that is obviously your best value. And that is what most of us are doing. Not only are we doing the big size, most of us are doing that 2,500. Of course, it's your choice, so you can choose the 1,250 or the 2,500. But the real key is, if you do that 2,500, it is not double the price. So just as an example, like Andrew was saying, I really didn't realize that's like 3 years of product. I really didn't.
More
you know,
than 3
it's
years.
more than 3 years of
No,
product.
so if you're
That's
sharing it with
crazy.
someone, even if we did a Today Special a year from now, you'll still have product a year from now if you're sharing it with someone.
That's
so
unreal.
it really is designed to be, and that's what the large sizes are all about. It's designed for economies of production, so you have incredible economies of purchase. That's it.
You do indeed. So again, you can see the value, over $110 savings, but because most of us, and I know I described this to you earlier, but here's where it gets really unbelievable. And Andrew, honestly, this is a jaw-dropping value and really a jaw-dropping product in terms of the research. I know you're going to be compelled to take it, but to remind you once more, only for today, this is a once-a-year value. It's been actually a couple of years since Andrew has bundled this with the calcium, magnesium, 600 count of either the 1,250 or 2,500 vitamin D, 500 count of the calcium is free. Normally, 600 count of vitamin D alone, $110. Today, the bundle is less than you would spend for the 600 count after today. And remember, money back guarantee until next year. That's the other real advantage. We love when Andrew's here, but this is his anniversary, so I promise you he has not only hit this out of the park, we even get to try this as you buy it until next year with our extended holiday return policy. And on the 1,200 count, because that's what most of us are doing, it's a 1,200 count, either 1,250 or 2,500, with this for free. With this for free. In fact, here's a quick little chart to detail that. And I know Andrew's got some more research and details, but normally the vitamin D3, over $200 value. The calcium, which basically is free, your calcium magnesium intensive care, $135, that's free. The cookbook free, the shipping free, and the money-back guarantee until the end of January. Unreal.
Just on the bundles, I think that's a few pounds of, I think.
Yes.
It actually is a few pounds of capsules that we're shipping. That's 2,000. In the large bundle, that's 2,200 capsules. That's a lot of capsules that we're shipping. And that weighs a great deal, and the shipping and handling is free, of course. So when it comes to vitamin D, I've often thought when I talk about vitamin D, it's basically a public service announcement. You don't have to get my product. What you need to really get is the problem that vitamin D poses to the health of our society. It really is an enormous problem, that things have changed over the last several decades, and those things have conspired. They've collectively conspired to dramatically reduce our vitamin D levels. We used to think that had implications for osteoporosis because it affects our ability to absorb calcium. In fact, without adequate levels of vitamin D, you could have all the calcium in the world that you deliver, you'll absorb about 10% of it. So, of course, vitamin D plays an enormous role in osteoporosis, it plays an enormous role in skeletal health, but that's scratching the surface of the role that vitamin D plays in our body. In terms of our brain, the highest functioning areas of our brain rely on vitamin D. Again, the highest concentration of vitamin D receptors in our brain are found in those most important areas of the brain, the areas of the brain where we create and form memories, where we make decisions. Again, mood, our ability to have a sort of an emotionally balanced state is dependent on our having healthy vitamin D levels. Our ability to contract our muscles directly related to vitamin D, which is why when we look at older individuals, vitamin D levels, healthy vitamin D levels, result in a substantially reduced risk in falling. By the same token, if you're an athlete, if you're active, if you work out, you want healthy vitamin D levels because your muscles require them to do the work that you want to do to enjoy your workout or benefit from your workout. So the list goes on and on and on. I was just going to read some of the charts here because I think some of these quotes are so compelling. And it's not usually that you find in scientific journals or medical journals that they tend to make really profound statements. They tend to be very political. They tend to make statements as a scientist. You only want to make statements that you absolutely, positively know are going to be true or that you can defend. So when you start looking at government organizations and you start looking at these scientific papers making these very powerful, absolute statements about vitamin D, I think it should underscore the fact that you need to get a vitamin D level test at your doctor's office. Find out what your levels are. Hopefully they're great. I suspect if you're not supplementing, they're not great. They're probably not good at all. And it's very simple to supplement vitamin D, as I keep saying. You don't have to get mine, but you need to understand how important vitamin D is and try to find a great supplement in the store somewhere. But as we go to this chart here, this is from the American Journal of Medicine. Vitamin D deficiency is a pandemic with more than half of the world's population currently at risk. A pandemic. Half the world population currently at risk. And that's billions of people.
Wow.
And in Western society, it's far worse than it is in the developing world. Adequate vitamin D levels are necessary and advantageous for optimal health, not just for our skeletal health, optimal health. Vitamin D deficiency and insufficiency can be both corrected and prevented safely through supplementation. And again, it's not like these organizations typically recommend supplementation, but the reason why they have to, and here we're at the Harvard Health Publications, Harvard Medical School, why do they have to recommend supplementation? Because food, which is usually the best way to get vitamins in general, that's not so for vitamin D. Supplements are the simplest, safest way to get vitamin D because there is no rich source of vitamin D in foods.
Even if I'm eating a healthy diet, I'm still not getting the levels of vitamin D that I need. Even if I'm doing, like, all the great things, I mean, even if you're eating well, which, let's be honest, most of us aren't, right, I'm still not getting the level of vitamin D I need.
And unfortunately, the best source of vitamin D in food are going to be the oily fish, which we don't tend to eat in this country, which are also very expensive. So typically, I would say the average person, in terms of the vitamin D they consume on a daily basis, they're probably lucky to consume between 100 and 500 IU daily. And then if you add the typical multivitamin at 400, it means the average person doesn't even get to 1,000 IU daily. And that's the minimum threshold, I say, for supplementation is 1,000 IU. I really recommend that someone be between 2,000 and 4,000 IU. If you're overweight, you're going to have to be 5, 6, or 7,000 IU. It's just a fact of life. It's a fact of science. If you're overweight, if you're obese, that body fat traps vitamin D and makes it unavailable for your body to utilize it as fully as you would want it to. So you need to supplement more vitamin D to overcome. And again, it's one of the consequences that has been unspoken in terms of we talk about the epidemic of obesity and overweight in our society, one of the consequences of that has been a dramatic decrease in circulating vitamin D levels in our body. So we've forgotten about that. We always think about vitamin D, or we think about obesity and overweight in terms of heart health and high blood pressure and high blood sugar. But we forget that it has huge implications for vitamin D. And those implications of vitamin D then also affect heart health, also affect brain health, and affect other systems in our body. But another chart here from the Journal of the American Medical Association, JAMA. Although vitamin deficiency is encountered infrequently in developed countries, some groups of patients are at higher risk for vitamin deficiency and suboptimal vitamin status. For example, elderly patients are particularly at risk for vitamins B12 and D deficiency. And when it comes to vitamin D deficiency, it's not just the elderly, it's all of us. If you're not supplementing vitamin D and you're 30, 35 years old in America, I would bet that your levels are suboptimal, are deficient or insufficient. I would bet, because you're not getting it from diet. If you're not spending extraordinary amounts of time outside without your skin being covered with sunscreen or clothing, you're going to have suboptimal levels of vitamin D. And that's what the research says. This is from the Archives of Internal Medicine. Vitamin D insufficiency is associated with suboptimal health. Current recommendations for vitamin D supplementation are inadequate to address the growing epidemic of vitamin D insufficiency. Those are not my words. I generally wouldn't even choose words that strong. U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. Over the course of 2 decades, vitamin D levels have dramatically decreased among Americans, a new study finds. Recent research has also linked insufficient vitamin D to poor health overall. So you could draw a connection between our overall health and our overall vitamin D levels. Again, from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. Over 3 out of every 4 Americans, that's over 75% of Americans, now have vitamin D levels below what we believe is necessary for optimal health. And their standards are easier to satisfy than mine, and their standards even has over 3 out of every 4 Americans deficient. Increases in vitamin D deficiency in the population may have reduced the overall health of the population. Pretty powerful statements from a medical journal, Experimental Biology and Medicine. There is no sufficient naturally vitamin D rich food around the world to correct the worldwide insufficiency either. So that's the problem. That's why we're stuck supplementing, because there is no great source of vitamin D in food. But if you think about it, why should there be? There really doesn't need to be a great source of vitamin D in food. There isn't, that's a fact, but there shouldn't be. And the reason why, it's only in the last 10, 15, 20,000 years, which in terms of the history of the planet, that's a blink of an eye. But it's only the last 10, 15,000 years that we weren't running around semi-clothed outdoors all the time. And with that semi-clothed outdoor all the time exposure, we had vitamin D levels at 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, the kind of vitamin D levels you aspire to, really north of 50, above 50. That's what would be normal given a lifetime spent outdoors in the sun, limited clothing, no sunscreen, but that doesn't exist any longer. So in today's society, the fact that we can't produce vitamin D ourselves, we must make a decision about supplementation.
And that's huge. And I know Andrew has such smart customers. I know you do your research. Anyone, if you watch the news, if you read your health magazines, you know there's no single vitamin that is more important for you to supplement. And not only that, no more affordable way to do it. So this is your only day. Remember, this is Andrew's last day of the anniversary. All of these prices expire at midnight. Of course, that is all subject to the law of supply and demand. At this point, we're now over that 17,000 mark. And once more, that is the predominant portion. We're well more than half of the quantity spoken for today. And you can see it's not even 12 noon Eastern Standard Time. So once more, here are your choices, and we'll talk about the profound savings, because you should absolutely be compelled to try this. I mean, it is an irresistible value on, quite simply, something we all need to be supplementing. If you are within the sound of our voice, if you're watching the show, you saw the research that Andrew is reading, and it's jaw-dropping to say the least, but we are all, I can pretty much promise you, you need to be taking this. We are all deficient, and it is vital and essential to really all of our systems. So remember, in terms of savings, you choose the 1250 or the 2500. So you choose the potency, and then you choose the capsule size. So we have the 150, 300, 600, and 1200. Of course, vitamin D is our star of the day, so we know you're going to choose this. Certainly separately, it's a great value, but on those bundles, it is really, I've never seen savings like that. I really haven't.
And simply, if you just look at the simple cost of the product, I think what is a bottle of water now? It's like 50 cents, $1, $1.50. If you simply just look at the fact that even on the 600 or 1200 capsule supply, on the 600 capsule supply, you're talking about less than a dime a capsule.
Yes.
On the 1200 capsule supply, you're talking about 7 cents a capsule. So you're talking about something that the bottle of water you might take it with would be the equivalent of 2 weeks of that vitamin D. So you're talking about the finest vitamin D you can get, the most pleasant experience you'll ever have taking any vitamin of any kind. And you're talking about literally pennies a day. And people will often talk about pennies a day when something is 40 or 50 cents. Yeah, that's 40 or 50 pennies. But here we're talking about literally just a few pennies, a little bit more than a nickel a day, to get the vitamin D that can make such a profound difference. And I say this all the time, that when it comes to supplementation, the one thing you don't want to do over the course of your lifetime, we all make a lot of decisions. We might smoke, we might drink alcohol more than we ought to, we might take certain medications that affect our bodies, that we might do a lot of things that are less than ideal. But this is something very, very simple. And when we move through the world, we're moving through the world in all likelihood in our society, in all likelihood with deficient or insufficient levels of vitamin D. You don't want to do that. And it's so simple to correct in terms of effort. It's 2 seconds. And then it's so simple to correct in terms of expense. So it's not like you can say, wow, I'm going to really have to give something up that, say, 6 or 7 cents a day over the course of a year. That's going to cost me less than $2 a month. That I think most of us do things, even if we're on a really tight budget, where the $2 a month might be something when it has this profound an impact on the way we move through the world. And as I always say, you do not want to move through your life with suboptimal levels of vitamin D. It's just that simple. You know, vitamin C, vitamin E, vitamin B12, they're all important, but they don't have the body of research we have on vitamin D in terms of just this overriding insufficiency and deficiency in our society, and then the benefits that are associated. I just was going to read some research here. Well, I had a couple of charts. First one, I just wanted to show that the numbers we have here in terms of the 1250 IU or 2500 IU, I didn't pull them out of thin air. Again, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and I could show you 100 studies that talk about these levels. We are in desperate need. This is, again, a government organization saying we are in desperate need to have a marked increase in the adequate intake recommendation, and hopefully that will be 1,000 to 2,000 IUs per day. Sadly, this came out a few years ago, and government moves slowly. They still haven't acted on it, so the levels recommended are still too low. But the government tells us 1,000 to 2,000 IUs per day, and raise the safe upper limit so you know you don't have to worry about getting too much vitamin D. The safe upper limit to 10,000 IUs per day. And if you're overweight, the 1,000, 2,000 IU, that's barely going to scratch the surface. As I said, I take 4,000 to 5,000 IU daily. If you're overweight, you're probably going to need to take more than that to get the levels where they need to be. And that should be at least 60 or 70. And in terms of the numbers, I'm just going to put some charts here because I think most of us don't appreciate the impact that vitamin D has on the way our brain functions, especially as we get older. And most of us, again, I think we all talk more and more in the last few decades. We talk more and more about brain function. We talk about the quality of having a brain that functions well, or what that quality gives to us as we get older. And again, over the last couple of decades, I just showed a chart moments ago that talked about how vitamin D levels have plummeted in our society over the last couple of decades. As our weight has increased, our vitamin D levels have plummeted. So when you look at the implications for vitamin D for brain function, you're going to want to spend the pennies a day to supplement. And again, it doesn't have to be with my product. I can tell you why mine is the best. But you just need to make sure that you're getting the information so you can make a sound decision, get a vitamin D test at your doctor's office. But this is from the Journal of Neurology, Neurosurgery, and Psychiatry. 2 recent clinic-based observational studies reported that low serum vitamin D levels were associated with poor cognition test performance, and a retrospective study of older adults attending a memory assessment clinic found a positive correlation between vitamin D levels and scores, meaning that better scores meant better vitamin D levels, or better said, better vitamin D levels meant better scores in terms of memory and cognition. In this population-based study of European men aged 40 years and older, so we're not talking about elderly, we're talking about 40 years and older, we observed a significant independent association between a slower information processing speed and lower levels of vitamin D. So if we now know that in America, say, more than 3/4, I think it's actually higher than that, more than 3/4 of Americans are deficient or insufficient in vitamin D, what are the implications for a statement like that in terms of normal brain function? From the Journal of Gerontology, metabolic pathways for vitamin D have been found in the hippocampus and cerebellum, 2 critical areas of our brain, suggesting that vitamin D may be active in areas of the brain involved in planning, processing, and most importantly to me, the formation of new memories. That's something that as we get older, we might remember things from our childhood, but we struggle sometimes to remember where we put the keys, to form those new memories. Again, from the Journal of Gerontology, we found that circulating vitamin D concentration was most strongly associated with the measure of cognition in the areas of executive functioning. That's the complex cognitive tasks such as planning, problem solving, or sequencing, and attention processing speed. So the highest functioning attributes of our brain are ones that have been associated with circulating vitamin D levels. Also, that's where the highest concentrations of vitamin D receptors are found in our brain. So from Neurology, another medical journal, taken together, these results suggest vitamin D supplements in deficient elderly patients may improve or maintain global cognitive function. We hypothesize, and hypothesize means that you're coming up with a basic conclusion based upon the data you've observed. We hypothesize that high dietary intake of vitamin D, and unfortunately, as we know, that means supplementation, because diets don't provide adequate intake of vitamin D, could protect against cognitive decline. And again, this is not positioning vitamin D as a drug or a treatment for disease. What this is positioning vitamin D as, correcting the simple, recognized, acknowledged, established deficiency and insufficiency that is so rampant in our society that even conservative scientists refer to it as an epidemic. So get your vitamin D level tested at your doctor. Know what's going on inside your body. You don't have to get my product, but get a vitamin D supplement that gets that level to the appropriate level.
Absolutely. And to Andrew's point, if you have time to read some of the reviews, it really is amazing, because so often people in those reviews talk about having their vitamin D levels checked after they'd taken someone else's product and they didn't see an increase, but when they started taking Andrew Lessman's vitamins, it was a significant improvement. You know, the whole idea is it's a vitamin that we absolutely need to be supplementing. And obviously, I know you're compelled, jaw-dropping research to be sure, but certainly there is no better time, no better way. Only time of the year that we do this, but it is the most significant savings that we have ever seen on this product in HSN history. So you really must try it. And the good news is, with now almost 18,000 spoken for, we do have availability in all the sizes. And I know Andrew's going to be adjusting as he can throughout the day, but just so you realize, the predominant portion of that almost 18,000 are either the 1,200 count in the 2,500 or in the bundle. So certainly, with the kind of savings that we see here, it is undeniably the best day to ever do this. Once more, choose your potency, the 1250 or the 2500, and then choose your capsule size, 150, 300, 600, or 1200. If you just look at the savings on the vitamin D alone, I mean, honest to goodness, you are saving more than you are spending, even if you're just doing the vitamin D separately. But what most of us are doing, and yes, most of us are doing that 2500 IU, because remember, even though it's double the potency, it is not double the price, which is really amazing to me. But when you consider the bundles, you get the 600 count of the vitamin D with 500 capsules of calcium magnesium free with your purchase. 600 count of the vitamin D alone, normally about $110.
And by the way, we would have been sold out of several sizes already.
Wow.
But fortunately, because vitamin D is something that we use in all our multivitamins and things, we are able to make, and same with calcium, magnesium, we were able to increase the quantity here. So, and of course, like all of my products, we make everything. And everything we make, this is not some clearance of product that's been sitting in a warehouse for 5 years. I doubt if this product has been sitting in HSN's warehouse for more than 2 weeks. So we literally make everything fresh immediately prior to a show. And in some cases, when we experience what we're experiencing now, we'll make the product starting today, and we'll probably ship it to HSN by Tuesday or Wednesday of next week, and then it goes to you probably the week after. So all the products you're getting are fresh, and that's why you get to store the product at your home and be confident that you received it fresh. And when it comes to vitamin D, or calcium, magnesium intensive care, both very stable products. That's why we're able to make large sizes and be comfortable that the large sizes are going to be fine at your house.
Absolutely. And speaking of those large sizes, I just want you to see, because I'm a visual person and maybe you are too, when you look at that 1,200 count of the vitamin D, here's what you're getting free on that bundle. Okay? If that kind of puts it all in perspective, it is literally pounds worth of product that is delivered for free to your door. It is over 3 years worth of product, which is unbelievable to me. And you're getting it, if you check this out, normally the 1,200 count is $200 at HSN. It's less money to get the bundle, to get this free, than it would ordinarily be to just get the vitamin D.
And again, for me, the more, those are certainly large quantities, and when you look at the time that those large quantities will last, you get a sense over time how unbelievably affordable it is. But for me, what really is telling is to think in terms of 6 or 7 cents a capsule. That even when you get into the smaller sizes, it's still pennies a capsule. So it takes something that's so affordable, and that's what I say the most unique attribute of vitamin D isn't the powerful benefits, the long list of benefits it delivers to so many systems within your body. What's amazing about vitamin D is that despite all those incredible benefits it delivers, it's the least expensive vitamin I can deliver to you. So the most important usually is the most expensive. And so to me, it's just exciting to deliver something so affordable. And I talked before about that our skeletal muscles, our muscles can't contract. When I'm standing here moving around, vitamin D is essential for the contraction of the muscles that provide balance and leg strength. That's why it's associated with a dramatically reduced risk in falling as we get older. By the same token, our heart is a muscle. Our heart is contracting constantly all the time. It does this wonderfully elegant dance where the way our heart contracts moves blood to our lungs, back from our lungs, and throughout our body, back to our heart, and back to be oxygenated again. I mean, it's just amazing that our heart does this so perfectly, so elegantly. Vitamin D is a critical part of the muscular contraction that our heart is going to perform every single moment of every single day of the rest of our lives. And again, when you think in those terms, again, you don't want to spend times of your life at all. You want to move through your life with optimum vitamin D levels. That's simple. And reading the science before, it's a fact of life that most Americans, over 75%, some studies will say as much as 100% of Americans who aren't supplementing are vitamin D insufficient or deficient. That's a frightening number when you look at the implications that vitamin D has for us if it's going to be at our healthy levels throughout our lives. You don't want to embrace the possibilities or the outcomes of not having healthy vitamin D levels as you move through your life. And I just wanted to read this one chart here this is from the Harvard School of Public Health, and it's a point I was making that I'd love to recommend dietary sources of vitamin D. Certainly oily fish are a pretty good source, but you're not going to get the levels you need, but at least you'll get some. But as it says here, very few foods naturally contain vitamin D. For most people, the best way to get the recommended daily intake is by taking a supplement. I would have to say for almost all people, unless you're spending extraordinary amounts of time outside in a warm climate throughout the year, supplementation is going to become absolutely essential to achieve the kinds of levels that are associated with good health. And it says, look for supplements that contain vitamin D3, cholecalciferol. That's the only form of vitamin D we've used for 35 years, the only form. rather than vitamin D2, ergocalciferol, since vitamin D3, the form we use, is 3 to 4 times more potent than vitamin D2. And again, if you look at the reviews on my product, and this is a product that's almost unanimously perfectly reviewed, same with the calcium magnesium intensive care, you're going to see reviews that frequently speak about the fact that they had used other products and they had a blood test and their blood levels were still too low. They tried our product and their blood levels were established where their doctor wanted them. So if you want a product you can trust and you could rely on, you could read the reviews to find out. And you, of course, also, this time of year in October, all my products come with a money-back guarantee, not just 30 days, but all the way till January 31st, so all the way through the holidays. So you get 3 months to experience the remarkable supportive benefits of vitamin D.
Absolutely. And, you know, that's just it. If you're going to take a vitamin D supplement, you want to be taking the world's finest. And obviously, this is obvious. In addition to that, it's obviously the best value. So you can see the kind of savings. I really recommend, if you want these bundles, with now well over 18,000 gone, or well more than half of the quantity for the day gone, 600 of vitamin D, 500 count capsule calcium free, 1,200 count of vitamin D, 1,000 capsules of calcium magnesium intensive care free for less money than you would spend for the 1,200 count alone. So free shipping, and of course, don't forget the cookbook, also free with your purchase on those 600 counts and more, with that money-back guarantee until next year. So thank you again for your orders. We've got lots more to get to, though. So.